Tua, Rahubat family, Rahubat Musa. Oh, I was like, you're leaving me hanging. It's exactly 7 o'clock, so we just want to test. I don't see any mods on Clubhouse. Just want to see, make sure everyone can hear us. Welcome everyone on Zoom. We're going to go live on TikTok as well. So share the room. Let everyone know we're live. I need someone to let me know if we can be heard on Zoom. So if you can unmute your mic, somebody. Tua, Tawuta. Just needing somebody on Clubhouse to confirm, and then we can get started. I see something in the chat. Okay. Good evening. Sound is not good. That's Tio. Omar, is the sound good? Because I don't know if that's the right pronunciation for your name. But
On Gloom is good. I can hear you.
okay, so Tio, I think it might be your device. Rahubat Zamata. Kaya Fatir Antat. Okay, you got it. Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right. No one's on Clubhouse at the moment. I'm not sure if. Okay, it seems like we're live. Okay, let me look at the chat. Okay. Akaraha Shafefra Clubhouse. Okay, we got a thumbs up. Great. Okay, before we get started, we like to Nubian Goddess, please mute your mic. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I was saying we're going to invoke our ancestors with a chant, our affirmation. So I'm just going to share my screen so those on Zoom can actually follow along. When you're following along, please don't have your mic open because the latency just causes a delay and it kind of interrupts the chant. So if you could just say it, do the chant with us, but just keep your mic on mute. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and we can start. Okay. Barud, barud, barud. Nabad, mutar, mutar. Naut, mudet, badet, patah. Naut, mukras, badet, yanu. Nuki Jawef Pa Ashuk Empa Paut Wu Kalal Ashuk Hawun Jawef Neya Anuki Kasam Un Empa Paut Wu Pa Paut Kawun Kasam Un Em Neya Anuki Wahu Ame Pa Paut Wu Pa Paut Kawun Wahu Ame Neya Nakukador Najor Ame Kasam Un Empa Paut Wu Habub Ame Mushkasun Nakukador Kawan Kalal Pasaf Nakuk Aro Jawef Pa Paut Ame Wase Ame Aradni Kawun Laye Bakori Jawef Pa Paut Anuki Yabed Biye Nafashni Pa Paut Kawun Anuki Pa Paut Kador Nakuk Kador Pa Paut Amul Nakuk Amul. Okay, so that's our affirmation. For newcomers, I will just go through that in English. It starts off with Na'ut Mugdad Baded Pata Na'ut Muklas Baded Yanun, which translates as no God except Pata, no Savior except Yanun, Pa Takyud, which is the affirmation. Anuki Jawev Pa Ashuk Em Pa Pa'ut. I am inside the divine love of the all expanding. Wu Kalal Ashuk Kawun Jawef Neya. And all divine love is in me. Anuki Kasamun Em Pa Pa'ut, which is I am a part of the all expanding. Wu Pa Pa'ut Kawun Kasamun Em Neya, which is, and the all expanding is a part of me. Anuki Kasamun Pa, sorry, Wu Pa Pa'ut Kawun Kasamun Em Neya, and the all expanding is a part of me. Anuki Wah Hu Ame Pa Pa'ut, I am one as the all expanding. Wu Pa Pa'ut Kawun Wahu Ame Neya, and the all expanding is one as me. Nakuk Kador Najor Ame Kasamun Em Pa Pa'ut, which is I can succeed as a part of the all expanding. Wu Khabub Ame Mushkhatun, which is I can and I'll fail as an individual person. Then we go on to, please can you mute your mic? That was Nicole. Wu Pa Pa'ut Kawun Kasam.
Sorry.
Nakuk Kador Najor Ame Kasamun Em Pa Pa'ut.
Yes, baby.
Wu Khabub Ame Mushkhatun, and fail as an individual person. And then Nakuk Kador Kawan Kalal Pafef Nakuk Arod Jawef Pa Pa'ut. I can be all that I wish in the all expanding. Ame Wase Ame Aradni Kawun Laye Bakowi Jawef Pa Pa'ut. As long as my wish is to stay in the all expanding. Anuki Yabbi Ye Nafashni. I am never by myself. Pa Pa'ut Kawun Anuki. The all expanding is I am. Pa Pa'ut Kador Nakuk Kador. The all expanding can, I can. Pa Pa'ut Amul Nakuk Amul. The all expanding does, I do. Okay, so today's class is entitled You Gotta Do More Than Talk. But before we get into that, for newcomers, we're just going to introduce who we are by way of going to our official United Sabian, United Sabiansworldwide.com. And this website is our official worldwide site where you can learn more about who we are as the United Sabians Worldwide or Nuapians Worldwide. You can learn about who our master teacher is, about Dr. York, and you learn about the Malachi Foundation that he set up in Africa, in Ghana, to help children and young people. You can learn about the different aspects of our tribe, such as the Sabian man, what a Sabian man should do, or what his responsibilities are. The same for the women. Learn about the elders and young people. We have various associations which you can also learn more about, and that includes the Young Student Association, known as the Mudrusu Tashruk, and the various other aspects such as the Shriners, the Ancient Egyptian Order, and so on and so forth. So let me just let everyone in. So this is a good resource for you if you're a newcomer to get familiar with who we are. My name is Sakam Reye. I'm a student teacher of the master teacher Pana Babyanun, who is the reformer, our guide, the master teacher, of course, And he's the one that is here to renew our story of 24,000 years. Every 24,000 years, we come back into our own. And people might think, wow, 25,000 years or 24,000 years is a long time. Sometimes people say 25,000 years because the next 24,000 years starts with the 25th,000, if you follow. So that's the one, but some say 25,000 years. But yeah, we wake back up, those of us who have been asking, developing, have the DNA of our ancestors, and we get a DNA explosion by way of hearing the master's voice or reading a book, a scroll, or, just anyhow you come across him. It may be through somebody else, people out there propagating. You come across him in many different ways. And if it resonates with you, then you literally get that DNA explosion and you start to begin your journey in terms of remembering. I always say that word, remembering, that begins with a R-E. If you really do a bit of research into words that begins with R-E, like recover, remember, read. There's plenty of examples. Just trying to think of a few more, but you start to see how significant that word Ray is, because we say Ra as well as Ray, same thing, because you just replace the vowels. So Ra or Ray, or we say Ray in our language, is relating to the sun, which is our parent, because we all come from the sun. And even when you see, if I kind of Google ancient Egypt, and put the sun rays or sun god, what you will find if you look at images is that this one here in particular is quite a good one. So what you see in that image, I've just picked any image at random, but this one here particularly, you can see how these rays of the sun shining down, and that's how we're able to receive information, because our DNA as melanite children, when we look at ourselves, a lot of the times we think we're physical. We're actually not physical. We're physical, but there's parts of us that are not physical, which relates to the energetic part of you and relating to the fact that you're held together by atoms. And that's really dealing with vibration and frequencies. So waves, basically. And these waves are constantly hitting you from, Rahubat TikTok people? Hitting you from every angle. Even when you're talking and exchanging words, tones, vibrations, they're just all over the place. So when you receive the master's tones, it does ignite and start something in you. And a lot of people will just suddenly maybe go on this path of discovery or recovery or uncovering of who they really are. Because up until that moment, you may have belonged to a Christian group or religious group or something, and now you have all these questions and, information that you start to look for and seek out. And so if your soul is not ignited, because there are people walking around that have a spirit or have a soul, but it has to be ignited. That's what I mean by the DNA explosion. And, some people's light in terms of that solar plexus is so dim. And I mentioned the sun because you are a sun. You also have a sun within you that needs to connect with the sun outside. And there's a sun in the center of the earth. So if you ground yourself, you kind of like connect with all those three suns, because the three is a very significant number in everything when you start to study it, because you have two sides to everything and then you're in the middle as the third point. And the whole thing is to constantly try and be balanced, not be too to the extremes of either side. and that is obviously relates to the science of the pyramid and so forth and so forth. So those three suns, you'll see that in ancient times, we not only spoke about these three suns in terms of them being the ones I've just mentioned, outside, internal, and beneath as well, but they are also, someone just tried to come in and I lost my thought. But those three suns were referred to in ancient times as Atumre, Atunre, and Amunre. But there was another one which is hidden, known as the Anunre. And these not only refer to the position of the sun, as in when the sun, as some people say, rise, and then it's at the center or the zenith or the middle point, and then as they say, it what's the other one? Set, right? So sun, rise, middle, set, and then it does this journey that it travels through the underworld, or where we call darkness, or where nobody knows where it goes, and then it comes back again. So I'm just saying that these 3 points then tie into you in terms of how you relate to that sun, and we are children of the sun, or the melanite children, because when we receive these vibrations, these frequencies, it affects our melanin. Do you have a mic? I mean, a question? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
If that's the case, does grounding at certain times deem to be more important than other times because of depending on where the sun is?
Excellent question. See, the thing is, when I gave that example, that's because we've been given the impression that the sun moves and goes, rises and sets. It actually doesn't. It's in the same position all the time. It's just that the planet and we are moving. So it gives that illusion that it's rising and setting. It doesn't do that. So no, the sun is always shining. It's always there, and you will always receive it regardless at what time. Yeah. So when we say night, that's a misnomer, because it's really a shadow state. So it's like if you go somewhere where it's really hot and you were really like you couldn't take the heat, you might go under a shade just to get a bit of relief for those who can't take the sun. But it doesn't mean that because you're under the canopy of a shadow that the sun is not still out. Yeah, so it's the same principle, that the sun never actually goes anywhere, but it's just that because the planet has to cool itself by the way the Natharu designed it after the incident when they had to kind of put it back together. It was designed so that one side of it is facing the sun, and then the other side is cooling off. And then when we rotate and go the other way, it's constantly cooling off one side so it doesn't overheat, basically. Okay, so the other thing by way of introduction is many of our stores worldwide may have their own websites, and because different time zones, different people do different things in terms of the programs that they have going on. So obviously we are in the UK, and we have nashat.co.uk, where you can get a lot of the products, health products, and the scrolls that you hear us talking about and mentioning all the time. So yeah, you can always tune into our website for that information. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing briefly. Welcome. We've got so far 22 people on Zoom. Welcome everyone on TikTok. I'm going to see if I can. Manage everything. Clubhouse as well. So if you would like to ask a question at any point, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll give you the opportunity to unmute yourself and ask your question. So the title for today, as I said, is you got to do more than talk. I always come up with these types of titles that for some people is like, oh gosh, we've got to do some work. But yeah, I mean, we have the doctrine. We have the doctrine. There's nothing on the planet that can come near the doctrine of Wu-Sabat. And a lot of the time we do spend a lot of the time asking questions and answering questions and sharing information, which, you know, we're happy to do. But there's another side, which is the practical aspect. Nubian goddess, because last week we had an incident with the video. Unfortunately, I'm going to be blocking people from using their video, and because of that, I don't even know why you were able to. We actually spent some time. We spent some time trying to make sure we have the security settings so we don't get that type of hacking that took place last week. So, yeah, unfortunately, I'm blocking videos just in case people want to, you know, do anything obscene or, you know, like we're trying to be really. You would think the people that come on these platforms are sensible enough to not do that type of thing, but unfortunately, the more impact we're having, those that are adverse to what we're doing are going to try as much as possible to bring the sixth ether chaos and destabilize what we do. But, you know, we just got to keep going. Yeah, so you got to do more than talk. What does that? What would you guys? What does that title conjure up in you, or what? Yeah, so I was saying there is a side to us where we the doctrine is great, knowledge, continuous learning, continuous development, but there's a side where we have to build and put that knowledge into action practically, especially when you're seeing what's going on around the world right now in terms of, you know, a lot of like, the thing is, the master told us about this, like they were going to try and incite race wars, do you know what I mean? Like, just come up with all kinds of reasons to have people divided and compete and against each other like their gods do with religion and so forth. So, you know, it's getting to a point where we do have to build. And when I say, you know, like, you've got to do more than talk, what things can we think of, like, if you didn't have to talk, what would be the other things you would do? I've got a little list that I made up just when I was thinking about this. So if you didn't have to talk, what could you do? I just want to hear feedback from what else could you do other than talk?
I would lead by example.
Okay. Lead by example. I got that. Right. Make a note. I think you guys are thinking too hard though. But we'll come to that, lead by example, because definitely that's one of the things in terms of doing more than talking.
Start making stuff.
Stop making stuff.
No, start making
Oh,
stuff.
start making stuff. Okay. Okay, I got that down. Okay. Anyone else? It's not a trick question. I'm just trying to get some.
Building some type of school.
Okay, school. Okay, building.
Hospital and health facilities.
School, hospitals, or health facilities. Okay. Those are all great. Those are all great. But I think when I said do you want to say something else? You sure? When I said we're thinking too hard, what about listen?
I was thinking that, but I was thinking it's too big.
No, that's what I mean. It's not like if you don't talk, you listen more, right? You can listen more. Read.
Sure.
Read, right? Like, instead of talking, read a book. Actually read the doctrine. So we definitely are going to get into the more practical things that we have to do. And as I said, I'm all for answering doctrine questions as well, right? You hear me all the time doing breakdowns, and all the other student teachers, but when it comes to us doing less talk and more work, that's the building aspect. That's where my passion is right now. I'm not saying don't study and learn, but we learn and we read and we talk the doctrine, but when it comes to putting it to practical use, that's where we're not seeming to be doing the same or putting the same amount of effort. Okay? Yeah, a lot of people don't actually read, or we can even take that a little bit further and say, study. Study. They just want someone else to just spoon feed them or just kind of like give them what they've consumed. But if you don't read the scrolls, right? If you stopped talking and read more of the scrolls, you would be getting a direct communication from the master teacher. But like I said, I'm going to talk about this for a while, talk about how we can actually do more. What work do we have to do? Just so we can have an idea of what it is that we have to do. What do we have to do? Excuse me. Use the mic, please.
I was thinking of like a course, studying course for us.
Okay. Course.
And probably do a quiz, at the end of it, or some sort of game.
Okay.
So it's just to sort of promote incentives.
Okay. I mean, some of the things we have to do are really, really simple. Like I said, all those things you've all said are great, but I'm talking like we tell everyone all the time, go to the stores, go and be a part of the community, get involved with things that are happening in the store. We have many stores all around the world. Now, obviously, not everyone is in a location where there is a store. Okay, I've got some bits in the chat that I'm going to come to as well. But yeah, you can help out from wherever you are, online, attach yourself to a store, to a community, and just get involved and be a part of that. One of the things that we take for granted is the amount of people we have to reach with Wu-Sabat. How many people on the planet? Roughly, estimate. 8 billion. Right. So you see how much work we've got to do there just to reach people. And how do we reach these people? How do we reach 8 billion people to let them know about Wu-Sabat? Because that's a big job in itself. Like, we are doing our best, but we're not even reaching, I don't know, let's say we're reaching 2 million people. Compared to 8 billion, we have a lot of work to do. Please, yeah. Today is about practical. I don't want to, people don't get involved. The people on Zoom, especially, a lot of you are quiet a lot of the times. I know the regulars that ask questions, but this is interactive. We want to hear from you. Go ahead, Zamasta.
I think, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's, to reach that many people, you'd have to be promoting Wu-Sabat in every aspect. So in terms of like, okay, we do promote the sciences and everything like that, but you also have to promote the clothing, for example. But then you also have to say, like, we have clothing, these are the clothing, this is why the clothing is important, this is why you should be wearing 100% cotton, this is why you should be wearing 100% linen, and then market it to say, here's some different styles in this kind of thing. And kind of do that with everything, because I feel like with different communities, that's kind of like what they do to kind of captivate everybody. They have a product, and then they throw it out there, and they go, this is why my product is better than everybody else's, kind of thing.
You touched on the point, which is the dress, the culture, represent and wear the garbs of the culture. And that we say all the time, because it means that you're standing out and you're different from everyone else. And that will arouse curiosity. People want to ask you, like, who are you? Because the brothers, when we are out there propagating, we get that all the time. Just you know, the master said that your headdress, especially, it's a unique thing that most races have. Like, you know, you might see people with a turban on, or do you know what I mean? Like, and you just know that's a Sikh, or do you know what I mean? You might see a Muslim with their hijab, and we have to have that in the same way. But going back to the reaching of the 8 billion people, I see all the people in the chat. I'm going to come to you. The 8 billion people. If everyone was, and I'm seeing an improvement and an increase in now when I'm scrolling through, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, I'm seeing more and more Sabians and Wapians now posting videos, and that's something that, you know, if we were all doing it, it'll be the point. It'll get to the point where when people are scrolling, they're going to see so much Sabians, Nuapians, both, you know, Zamal Tatu, Zamal and Zamalu, like brothers and sisters, and I think that's something that is quite easily done. You know, you can just post anything about Wu-Sabat continuously, and wow. Kanas, Rahubat, everyone joining on Clubhouse. It's good to see you guys. And yeah. Oh, Kanas has disappeared. But yeah, this is what I'm saying is everyone has the ability to post videos and share the videos if you're not posting. Like the videos, subscribe to. Every time I'm scrolling through now and I see any Nuwapian, doesn't matter what they're doing, I straight away like and, you know, join them and keep posting. So we all have to start thinking like this doctrine, this culture, Wu-Sabat, is something we all have to participate. Read a book, read a scroll, do any type of video to share. Do you want to say something? Yeah, sure. And then,
I think even if you feel like there's nothing that you can yourself share in that very moment, sometimes you can support by actually just being there. So if you know somebody's doing something, somebody's got something up, just show up.
yeah, absolutely. Let me just see what the people in the chat are saying. Okay. Rahubat Dara. Rahubat question, how to learn Wu-Sabat simple language for beginners like A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. All right, yeah, that's one of the things I've got on the list, the language, which is part of our culture, but we will come to that. Everyone else is saying Rahubat. Be around the community, this is from Henrik, exactly, be around the community, be closer. Study and apply, that's from Brown Sugar 72. Sharing the knowledge to others. And yeah, Bastat says build a nation of our own. These are the kind of things I'm talking about. Like, we say these things, but we're going to look at how do we do that practically? Like, how do we build a nation? Because we keep saying, oh, Habtu is here. Habtu, I'm going to make you mod. All right. Okay, you're already a mod. Excellent. Right. So that's why I say today is practical, because sometimes we do get, and don't get me wrong, if you have a burning question on the doctrine or anything you want to ask, you can still do that. Build a nation. And Brown Sugar also said, build us a place where we can practice our culture. Absolutely. Right. Nubian Goddess says, any store in Kenya, my Kundalini activated way back year 2020, was guided until I found my tribe. I have never read any book. I do receive guidelines from my dreams, and my visions are very active and accurate. Right. Great. You have to go on the website in terms of, I don't know of any stores in Kenya yet, but I'm pretty sure I heard there's one in the making. A brother was going to open one there. And but you still have to just connect with the nearest one to you, or online with one that, you know, you can be active with. All right. But yeah, in terms of people say Kundalini activation and all that kind of stuff, you still have to talk less, read more, listen more, be involved. Someone said lead by example. I think that was Henrique, if I'm right. Henrique, you there? Because I want to, explore that a little bit. What do you mean by lead by example?
That was actually me, Robert, again.
Oh,
So,
Jose, sorry. Yeah, lead by example. Let's say a bit more. What do you mean?
what I meant is the fact that our culture is very well structured, and there is a science, there is a spirituality, there is a patriarch way of life, and as long as we live the culture, that will be enough of a leadership to show how can we live, not survive and thrive on our planet by example. We have a proper diet. We have we have everything on the culture, a language that is connected to the right tones with our ancestors, the
Yeah,
agreeable and disagreeable ones. So I guess that just by following the culture, not talking, that's enough of example. And of course, at the end of the day, share each one with everyone that is on the same vibration and frequency of the culture.
yeah.
That would be a great starting point for it.
Yeah. Again, just to reiterate, living the culture, sharing everything about the culture with whoever you can, whether it's social media, it's very important. I mean, can you just imagine if everyone was doing something every day to push Wu-Sabat? And Maat, you also mentioned about events. When we have a place, somewhere that we have, no matter how big or small it is, if we convene and gather, we then interact with each other, we network, we do what is necessary, because sometimes people don't even know what is required, what help is required, what projects are going on in the different stores and the different communities that we need to get involved with. I've also made a list, right, which we can explore. Like I said, the stores are definitely, they don't have enough support and help to do the things that we need to do. Legal, you can help with the legal, because in order for us to progress in the way that we have to get partner Babiano now. And everyone should be doing something. You should be doing something from any of the things we're speaking about regularly, like attending the stores. Like, what about things for the children? Do people think, okay, we need to have an activity or something for the children? And not just the children, but the children are our future, right? The elders, we waited and the whole summer's gone by. No one over here anyway had the initiative to say, let's hire a coach and take the children out to the beach or something. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, these are things that are practical, things that we can do, or even ourselves. Doesn't have, children, because we have to think about the children, but I'm saying events and community things that we do together, go to the park, go and do things, we don't get involved practically. And when things are going on, sometimes people don't support. The legal, like, do you have a regular contribution that you give to the legal? Or even do you just find ways of spreading, the plight of the legal, of what's going on, the injustice? Or are we just like complacent and become takers and not givers? Because we take in terms of, people come and they just want to take information from us, get information. They become information junkies, but then they don't apply the knowledge. And Jose said about the Patarak, we've got our own way. Are you reading and going through them one by one every day? Businesses, when we talk about building, you were mentioning that, you can produce something. Do you produce anything? Do you produce herbs, shea butter, jewelry, clothing, bindis? Well, what they call it? What do we call it? Bindi is a Hindu word, isn't it? But we anyway, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm just saying, Like there's so many things, shoes, whatever we need. Like, are you doing something? Books. We've got so many books, right? We're talking about reaching the world. What about translating the books into other languages? Because not everybody speaks English. So I'm just showing you how much work is required. The office and, the center, they do as much as they can, but even there, in the different stores around the world, they need support. So it's not as simple as just like reading and talking, but someone else mentioned the language, like what many ways of I know Temple Babies are doing a lot of great work in trying to put, the language and the cartoons and the animation and things for the children. But that's one person or one, company. Yeah, just like when we talk about building, I think we want these things, but we don't get involved to help to make them happen. We've got obviously projects that we're working on here in this store, but there are other stores that are also doing things. So yeah, when I say we got to do more than just talk, it does get frustrating to know that we have so much potential if we worked and did things together. And we seem to fall short when it comes to that. And that's just partly because of the divisions, partly because of the master's incarceration, partly because our land was stolen and we're dispersed. And we just seem to go right back into the six ether world. And sometimes it doesn't make sense because that world is not designed for you to progress. And if you're just going around in the cycle or the circles of going to work, there's no fulfillment. So you're not really going to be the best that you can be doing something that, don't get me wrong, there are people who work and maybe love their job and like their job. But at the same time, when we're talking about building our own communities, you can take those skills that you have and bring them into the community. So a lot of times when we get to talking about these types of serious aspects, people are quiet. But when we want to talk about risk and, we talk about all the things that, we're not saying there's anything wrong with that, but the actual day-to-day practical things, we have to get organized because, like I said, you can see a lot of race wars that people are talking about immigrants and even on the news I heard about one of the politicians over here, even though we can say we're not into politics or politricks, but it will affect you whether you like it or not. If you're living in a country and they pass a law, like I heard about Nigel Farage saying that he's going to revoke anybody that has indefinite stay to remain in the UK. So this is even people that have got legal status to be here. So we know about, everybody heard Exodus. Who sang that? Bob Marley, right?
Yeah.
Movement of Jah people. Right, when are we going to do that? When is the movement going to take place? Are you ready? Because these are the types of reality that is being spoken about every day now. Rumors of wars are going on here and there. Go back to your country. Even though we find that funny because we own the planet. So telling us to go back to our country is kind of weird. But I'm just saying these things are happening. Thorn is in power right now. And if you watch and see the types of legislation that's being passed every day, we can't bury our head in the sand and act like we're going to be okay. Everything's going to, because it's getting to the point where we have to do these things of planning, working together, building. Sometimes it sounds like a repeat record because we know this, but how do we mobilize and get that activation? Is it laziness? Is it What is it that makes people not get active and get involved? Because the doctrine is there. It's got everything. We've got our own language, our own culture. We got it all. The master has done his job. Like religion, all right. You can break down religion in literally 1 or 2 minutes. The religions that you're following today, Abrahamic religion, monotheistic religion, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, we all know now that those come from the Sumerian spells, right? So people still trying to decipher the English or the Islam, the Arabic and all of that, when all of it is actually coming from ancient Sumer. It's a Sumerian Anunnaki doctrine. So if you can't break the spell in the English, as in, you know what I mean, like the basic ones, then when we get into the Sumerian, because you know all those characters, they are taken from ancient Egypt, from our stories anyway. You know, like when you talk about the flood, let's say, give you a few examples. You might talk about the flood in the Bible, but we know that that character that they're calling Noah is actually in the Sumerian now, they will refer to him as what? Utnapishtim. But really that's Senefiru in ancient Egypt. So that just shows you that they've just taken all the ancient Egyptian stories, messed them up, watered them down, and gave them new characters into the Sumerian doctrine. But you're not even deciphering it in the Sumerian. You're still arguing and fighting about it in the monotheistic Christianity, which is so watered down anyway, or the Islam, or fighting about who's an Israelite and who's not, and all of that. It's just distractions where we have real work to do. And in our culture, we have it all, but we're not as proud and embracing it like how we're supposed to. Anybody have any questions or any comments, anything to say right now? Okay, I got a question in the chat. Do we have holistic healers? There you go. All the healers. You know the song, Wake Up Everybody, No More Sleeping in Bed. There's a line in there that says all the healers come together and heal, make the old people well. So all of you who are healers should be coming together and healing us. And it's the same with everything. I see Kobe, you have your hand up. Everyone, like all the IT people, get together and build our own stuff, our own infrastructure. I know it sounds like when we say these things, it's not going to just be a class and then you go home and you forget about it. We have to really ask ourselves, like, Kobe, go ahead, you got your hand up, unmute your mic and then you can ask a question or speak. Rahubat Zamal.
It's just pertaining to what you're saying. I was listening to one of the master teacher speakers, I think, speeches yesterday, and he said something about don't be hopeless and think you're going to fight this without being a part of the system in some way. You kind of have to be in the system to reverse what's happening within it.
Absolutely.
So that's something I really took that because with my journey and everything I've been going through since I got my new job and basically the thing that I feel like I've been born to do, I'm there on it now that I've got that in mind. It's like I'm there on a completely different mission, and everything that's coming my way, I'm sort of reversing it and making people answer their own questions in that sense. But giving them the guidance and reversing everything that they've been told about diet or what they need to be doing in the gym. It's sort of like reversing every single part of what they've been told, but making them come up with it. So I feel like even that in itself is sort of contributing towards what we need to do as Sabians. So I thought I'd just share that because what you said was quite inspiring.
Tawul. Yeah, that's the thing about jobs. Like, you know, it's an acronym for just over broke, right? So you have to have a plan. Like, you're not supposed to be there thinking I'm going to wait to get my pension. Do you know what I mean? Like, you literally doing that, you're saying, I want to give all my energy and all my resources to building something else to keep suppressing me, which makes no sense. So you do have to be thinking about, do you even love the job? Like Kobe said, he likes it, but you're there to utilize it to have an exit plan, to do whatever it is that either you're building those skills, maybe getting some money together so you can actually invest or put it into something that you want to do. But you can't just be there to be a slave, because that's literally what you are when your potential is governed by somebody else. Like, there's a ceiling that is set in terms of how far you can go. And guarantee, if you're making your employer, I don't know, let's say you're making him £1,000 a month. Sorry, if he's giving you £1,000 a month, you're making him at least 10,000. So you got to think logically, does that make sense? So we do have to have our own businesses, and the ones we do have, how much support do we get? Because people don't sometimes realize how much it takes. As simple as even just like the classes we have, every week someone has to make sure that things are done. Mics are set up, the sound set up, computers are working, even the platform that we use have to be paid for. There's a lot that goes on, and then we have to put the chairs out, pack them away. You know, there's so much videoing, editing, sharing. There's a lot of work, and we have already got things that we're working on, I've built, but sometimes we just need more help. You know, so these are things that, if you don't take anything from today, at least take the fact of saying to yourself, what am I doing to help? Am I just talking, or do I want to roll my sleeves and get to work? Because trust me, Tamaray wasn't built on just talking. Everyone that could see the vision of the master and wanting us to have a community, wanting us to have our own stuff, you know, they saw the vision and they got involved. And I know sometimes sacrificing, people have this attitude of, I need to be paid. But if you're building something for yourself, sometimes, for example, you might say, you know what, I need to start my own business, right? And you leave wherever you're working or whatever to start your own business. You may not be paid for the hours that you're working, because you know that you have to put in those hours to get things set up. And it may be a while, and you may have to sacrifice because you're not getting the regular monthly income that you're used to. But if you say to yourself, I have my ancestors with me, I'm doing something positive and something truth, something for the tribe, for the community, for the culture, you will keep going. And eventually you'll get past that part where, you know, you're not thinking, well, if I don't get paid, I'm not going to do it, because it's yours. You're building something for yourself. And if you don't want to build something for yourself, you can help someone else in the family that is building something which you can get involved with. You know, I think sometimes these simple things we just take for granted. And I kind of find it, I don't know, because sometimes when we talk about serious stuff, everybody just goes quiet, and I don't get it. So let's go back to doctrine. Let's talk about the Bible, and everyone's going to wake up. Sorry. Go ahead, sis.
Sorry, just what you said just a moment ago just really resonated with me, with the whole vision. I feel like sometimes people lose their zeal, they lose their fight because they forget their vision. Even with something as simple, I give you an example, something really, really simple, right? I was determined to learn the chant off head,
Yeah.
right? Determined. But what kept me vision-wise to do that was imagining a vortex in front of me and everybody holding hands together. And if we're holding hands together and doing the chant, I'm not going to have a piece of paper in front of me. So I needed to know it off head. And that was literally my vision, to say, I'm going to learn it for this reason.
Right.
And I managed to do it, but there is no way I would be able to do that without the vision, because to learn it, I had to be constantly, almost 24/7, having the chant repeat, over and over and over again to get there.
Yeah.
So I think it's more about, if you feel like you want to give up on something, remember the reason why you started doing it in the first place. And
Yeah.
if you didn't have a vision, make a vision now.
Sure, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Like, do we visualize? Because visualization, remember, collective minds coming together and visualizing something, we will make it manifest. So the energy that we're putting behind that, because like the thoughts, like you say, like if we envisage being successful, having our own stuff, our own businesses and our own communities, that's what Tamaray was, right? And living in peace and living in a way that is conducive for the children, for everyone, imagine you wake up and you can just do the chants. Again, you mentioned the chant, right? Everyone in the community will do the chant at the same time when they hear it, because it just becomes automatic. You just see people doing the chant, and you just join in, because you don't have to think, oh, I'm at work. Let me stop and go and hide in a corner or try and say it quietly. Like when you're in Muslim countries, whether you like it or not, when the adhan comes on, you could be sleeping. They're gonna belt it out through the speakers, and then everyone knows it's time to pray or go to the mosque. We have to. And when you walk around on our land and you see everybody dressed in the culture, it's just automatic. It's normal. You know, you hear people just say "Wu-Sabat," automatic. It will become second or first nature, shall I say? Yeah. So it's like, if we really want these things, we have to organize, come together, and we are doing this. But it's just, as I say, a lot of people just don't get involved. They don't come to the events, to the stores, to the community to get involved, to know. Because not everything we're going to share over the public platforms. So we always, in the Telegram group, we hear people all the time just asking questions. The Telegram group, I think, is good for newcomers, because when you first come in, you have to go through that orientation of asking certain questions that we've probably answered a million times, and you can just search and get the answer anyway. But a lot of people have just become stagnant. We got people in the group, but they're not really active or doing anything, and we don't see them in the forums and the places you're supposed to be. So, Nuwapian man, if this is a thing as well, you have to say, are you a Nuwapian, first of all? Or are you just someone that reads the books and just gets the information and then that's it? You're just a Nuwapian just on information. Or are you the type of person that wants to see that vision we're talking about? Do you know what I mean? Do you want to see schools for our children? Do you want to see the children growing up, learning and speaking the language? Do you want to see health centers where we go to if we need healing, and we have people that we can trust? Do you want to be able to go into a restaurant? Well, the word restaurant, as the master taught us, is rest tyrants, right? Do you want to go somewhere where you can eat wholesome food, knowing that it's made with a shuk and it's made for your benefit to keep you healthy? Or do you want to guess, like there's news going around now about human meat popping up on a lot of restaurants and stuff. It's becoming, exposed. A lot of things are becoming exposed. And as crazy as that sounds, if you look at the stats, like McDonald's, I don't know if I can, well, that was the news anyway that I saw this week. They say they're proud to feed billions and billions of people every day worldwide. There aren't that many cows. The master, this is the thing, the master gave us years ago, he gave us the graveyard riddle, which at the time, what he was making us think, okay, If you look at a graveyard, think of any graveyard in your local area or that you've known since you've been a child or growing up, passing it, and it's a particular size, right? That size has never grown all your life. So how is it able to contain the bodies throughout a 20, 30-year period, but the size doesn't expand? Now, when he posed that question to us, it was a riddle. People said, oh, you know what? Which I'm sure if we were to ask now, people will say the same thing. No, what they do is they put people on top of each other, right? That's why it hasn't grown in size. Does that make sense? You think it makes sense that they put them on top of each other?
Well, no.
Think about it. If you dig to a certain level in terms of going down to put one grave in, how are you going to put more on top?
Sooner or later, it's going
No, but what I'm saying is
to work.
Yeah, but unless
you'll have to keep digging deeper, right? Right, okay, let's go with that. If you're going to dig deeper, that means you have to take out the ones that are already there. So you got to say, let's say you've got one initially. So you take that out, you dig down a bit further to two. How far are you going to go to get, how many can we get in one? 20? So every time you have to take out all the 20 to dig further and take out all the whatever amount. So that doesn't make sense.
Is that why there's so many roadworks?
But what he was doing was getting us to think about, well, where do the bodies go? Recycled. How?
Food.
Yeah. That's literally. And now I'm saying, years later, you're hearing all over the place. In fact, there's some places that have legalized you being able to eat human meat, and there were people that were saying, they're finding body parts in their burgers and all kinds of stuff. And I remember watching a documentary that they did, what people call kebabs over here? They basically did documentary finding out the different types of meats that were in them, and they found lots of human meat. So when the master says don't eat anything with parents, don't eat. And this is something that he's made us aware for many, many years. So even if we look at chicken, right? So-called chicken, because you have more chicken restaurants. I mean, you can walk down one road and you have chicken restaurants all the way, and they're doing this every day. And again, it's like there isn't that much chickens. And there was an exposure of Kentucky that they showed these chickens that were being hybrid chickens that had like 3 wings, 4 legs, all kinds of stuff, just to make sure they kept breeding enough meat to serve. But most chicken, and in the movie The Matrix, that I found is funny. They said to the guy, why does everything taste like chicken? Do you even know what the taste of chicken is? Because everyone eats chicken. Because even though the master said not to, people are like, can we eat white meat? And chicken, they think is white meat, right? Or turkeys. And so people will still eat that, knowing that if you don't have a bone in it, how do you know it's chicken? You can mince meat, color it, that white looking, and it's chicken. Chicken nuggets, chicken this, chicken that. So you think. So again, I'm just going back to when we start to look at the problems we have. Yeah, someone's posted, watch the film Soylent Green. That shows human meat being fed to people by food corporations. Okay. Yeah, Henrik says, I'm going to move closer to the community. Love that. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Okay, someone said, I'm a Nuwapian. Right. If you say you're Nuwapian, then you got to live the culture. You can't hold back. You have to be unapologetically Moapian. You know, don't be part-time. Some people don't even like to wear the cultural attire. You know, represent who you are. And the masters told us that's our protection as well, because you're looked upon differently. You know, you're not stereotyped with the usual, you know, what, you know, the police and these profiles they have. If I'm walking down with my jeans or my trousers, we don't wear jeans anyway. For those who don't know, we're not supposed to wear jeans in our culture. The master broke that down because if you remember years ago, people that used to wear jeans, they bought jeans because they didn't have to wash them. Could wear the same jeans over and over and over again.
Why is it?
And then they made it a fashion where they had the dirty looking jeans as a fashion. I don't know if you lot remember, but the master said not to wear jeans because of the denim. And the denim has no, it doesn't allow you to breathe. And especially for women, where you know, it's like, and it can give you infections and stuff like that. So that's why we don't wear it. But my point is, having your own culture and your own dress, your own places to eat, your own places to go and get healed, you know, everything we need means that you're avoiding being caught up in these things. Yeah. Someone's just posted, okay, yeah, how do you join the community? There's a link in the chat. And someone says, Nubian goddess, I am ready to volunteer myself in any way, including finances. How and where can I share my contribution? Right, it all depends where you are around the world. I'm touched, I am really, because when people actually say that, like, yeah, I'm ready to do this. Yes, it's good to see that's happening. And let me see if there's anything in the chat in Clubhouse. Yeah, we have got to do, like I've said before, the same money our people have for KFC and Budweiser, they need to buy a book from our shops. Exactly. That's true. Because we have these habits that we all, well, I mean, most of us do. Like, when you look at the addictions in terms of the weed, the alcohol, the weave, the nails, the eyelashes, we can keep going. We spend so much on other people's industries when, if we look at how much of that we could actually put into building our own stuff. Okay, next one. That was from Curtis. Yeah, love that. Wow, there are lots of comments. Let me quickly go through them. Support each other more with finances. Team, Habtui says, TEAM, work makes the dream, which is true. Teamwork makes the dream work. Together, everyone makes the dream work. Absolutely. Together, everyone achieves more. Kanas says, Rahuba, I'm on YouTube watching who is monitoring the question on. That's another great point, yeah. So the comment section in the YouTube videos, answering the questions, and also like looking out for any negative comments that people make and rebuttaling them, yeah. And, you know, sometimes you just scroll through and you see something and you just deal with it. You know, we don't have to. So that's a great suggestion, Kanas. Look, I want to quit my job. We need a bookstore in Birmingham. I'll work in it. Yeah, there you go. He'll work in it. But you see, because we already have experience with bookstores, we already know the pitfalls and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. So you need to get together with brothers. You've got a brother, Nabab in Birmingham. That's what you have to get together and you guys start working on that. Right, who else? Nudra. Why don't guys create your own KFC with cauliflower? You know what? I went to a restaurant one of the Zamal took me to a restaurant in New York. Man, that restaurant was so beautiful. Everything in it was vegan, but the way it was made, I mean, you shouldn't really be trying to replace chicken with vegan chicken. But the way it was made, you could eat any meal and know that you were eating a vegan meal, but it was as tasty, and some of it looked, they were very creative in the way that they presented it. So that's a great idea when you're saying, but these are all the things we can do, but to do it, we have to come together, we have to work together. As the master says, love and unity. Yeah, because I like chicken, but eat it once a while. Again, we're not here to judge anyone. Everyone's working, but I always say, you know, do the best way to stop something is to just stop. And we have a sister actually that does a lot of vegan meals as well here in our community, and she's working on that. I don't want to talk on her behalf, and guess she will do that herself. GMOs, that's another thing. Yep, they pump in the chickens all types of gorilla testosterone. I don't wear weave, eyelashes, but my hair is relaxed. Okay, it's a start. Why are you guys fighting the comments? Let them say what they want. We're not fighting the comments. People can say what they want, but what I'm saying is sometimes they may say something that is not true or not factual, or do you know what I mean? Something that's misleading to a newcomer, and someone has to set the record straight. So we're not fighting them. I'm just saying sometimes we have to balance it out with the truth. There are many initiatives throughout the different stores, the different communities, Nuwapian communities and stores that need your assistance, need your help, so anyone else? I'm ready to, okay, I've seen that one. Okay, I'm a Nuwapian, I'm gonna move closer, watch the film. Okay, I think I've covered all the comments, but yeah, that was really to get us to get the brain working, get thinking. If you want to come to Nashat, if you're in the UK, if you're local, we have Nuwapian man meetings. The next one is next Sunday for any man that considers themselves a Nuwapian man. There are things going on that we will only share in those meetings. The sisters, we have the feminine meetings going on. So if you are a female and you're, really about it and you want to get involved, attend those meetings. That's where we go into and deal with things on a more personal level. And we have to be vigilant because there are imposters and people that just want to try and destabilize. But Wu-Sabat is the solution for the world, for humanity. And yeah, we got to build. We really have to build. Anyone have a question, suggestion?
Yes, okay, go.
I
just have a quick.
What? Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Is that Callie?
YouTube. Yeah, I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
So, I don't. Okay. What? I think it's in the. Well, what is it in the holy tablets? Okay. When was it? When Tammuz descended into the. When he broke the 7 seals and he went to the underworld. My question is, why did, who was it? Was it Ishtar? Why did Ishtar want to stop that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when Tammuz went down to the underworld, and I think it was Erishkigal that stopped Ishtar from stopping the whole process. Why did that happen? Why didn't Ishtar want Tammuz to be agreeable?
I don't have the holy tablets in front of me, nor the section. Unless do you know the section? Because I would have to read it and kind of like I remember what you were talking about, but I can't remember the context of the story fully. So unless someone else has the holy tablets and knows what that chapter or the verse is, and we can read it. But I would have to reread it. I don't want to guess, but I remember it was because remember that's the laboratory that they were utilizing to. But yeah, I need to remember the context of I know Hapto is online, or if there's any other student teacher or someone that can remember, we may revisit it. But I can't. I'll have to look at the chapter and read it, and we go through it, because it's a long time ago since I even read that part. But do you have it?
No, I just was thinking about it. I just remember that part because I always was in, I was always just fascinated with the seven seals and the under, like what is that? What is it called? Shambhala. And I do remember that they had to bring Tammuz because at first he was disagreeable, and then they broke through the seven seals to make him agreeable, which I feel is also symbolic too of the process we go through here on Earth. You know what I mean? Is that whole 180.
Degree.
Agreeable,
Yeah.
180 180 disagreeable to 360 agreeable. But I just was wondering, like, I remember in the tablets they talked about Erishkigal shape-shifting into a flugerod to trick her, and so she went and stopped the process. And I know that was his mom, so I was wondering why didn't she not want that process to proceed? But I could come back next week and we can.
Yeah, we can revisit
I've
it.
been thinking about it for a while.
No problem. The sound was working before, but yeah, we'll have to revisit that one. But I do know that it may be, but again, I'll have to come back on that because, as you say, the master explained that he had to be changed from his natural nature of being disagreeable, because what happened is that the war, the conflict between Enki and Enlil, when Anu was trying to find someone to kind of deal with the two natures. There's a recording online with the master teacher. I think is can you prove the existence? No, I'm not sure about that. But anyway, the point is that he said that he had to be completely transformed or recalibrated from being a disagreeable to having both natures so that he could deal with us, because he was being sent to us to break the spell and to teach. So if I can't remember the exact story, if that was being prevented, it's because they didn't want to maybe transform him from being disagreeable to being agreeable. But he needed to have both natures, because we on the planet, as you just said, have both natures of agreeable and disagreeable, so that he's able to deal with us. And he says to us a lot of the times that we can't fool him because he knows our nature. They had to send someone who had both natures to deal with us, because we can be quite slippery and sneaky, and try to avoid, like, even when we talk about the disciplines and the things we're talking about that we have to do, people always try and find a way to avoid doing it. So like, for example, when he says don't eat anything with parents, people will moan, and then he'll be like, okay, you can have white meat, just so that, because if not, people just complain and moan. And so he would just give you an alternative that it's better, even though it's not really what we should be doing. And he does that a lot just because of our nature, knowing that, he has to know ways of still getting us to do what we're supposed to do without us, obviously, losing us. But I mean, we're definitely going to look into that, and I'll next week, or when we have another class, we'll go into that. But yeah, I'm going to have to reread that story. All right, anyone else? Oh yeah, Nicole, I think you were going to say something. Nicole, on Zoom? Right, anyone else with any questions? I know that's just put a kind of negative energy in the place. But yeah, we can go to Q&A. Any questions that anyone has? We'll see if other people will join on the Clubhouse instead. And the TikTok's fine. No? Any questions? Go ahead, Zama.
Delilah had a question, had a hand up.
Okay, we're just going to take the one in the class live, and then we'll come to that.
Yeah, the guy, the young elder. What's it called? Yeah,
Yep.
the young elder on YouTube, young elder and Rod Hayes. Do you know them?
I do, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your question?
Yeah,
You've got the mic, but you're not actually using the mic. What?
yeah, they're saying the original humans, yeah, are not are Americans. They say the cradle of humanity started from America, and it's like Egypt is in America, things like that. So I'm just wondering if your master teacher subscribes to, I mean, subscribes to that.
You're not asking me a question. What's your question?
Does your master teacher,
Does my master teacher?
yeah, Michael York, Michael Z. York, yeah,
You know what? We say this all the time.
yeah.
You go and listen to the young elder and Rod Hayes, and then you come and ask us questions about what they're saying. We don't do that. We don't answer questions based on what other people are saying, okay? Because we already teach by way of the master teacher that we know where we came from and where people came from. So it's like you're saying, do we subscribe to that? The master teacher has already broken down, you know, how life on this planet began, where it came from, and so on. So
Because they are very strong followers of your master teacher. That's why I'm just wondering why are they saying something different with your master teacher?
okay, because what I'm saying is there are millions of people out there that are saying something or saying their own thing, but they're not here or current with the information that the master teacher is putting out. Do you follow? So if you are listening to the current information from the master teacher, it would be the actual facts part of that and the master's secrets. That's the current information. And if you read and study, you know, even this Proverbs of Yanun, right? And this diagram that I'm about to show you is actually in other scrolls as well, in other master secrets, where he explains and shows you the origins of life on this planet, and even before coming to the planet. So on page 17, there's a diagram. Okay, let me just see if I can show that diagram. Zoom's not on, right? But there's a diagram, show you, where he explains and shows you how the landing site that was set up in the Egg Island in Antarctica, right? This is where life started from and coming out of the Indian Ocean, yeah? Where the humanoid seed was placed into the dolphins, and then they evolved from the waters and came onto land. And this diagram goes all the way, so when you're dealing with those original beings, right, it goes all the way to the Kalahari Desert with the Sands people known as newborns, right? If you read the Coming Forth by Day by the Master Teacher, he explains about who the newborns are, right? This is where the word Nubian came from. And at that time, the planet was referred to as Pangaea, which is dealing with when all the continents were still connected. So when people in America are saying everything started from America, it was the same land, and then obviously with the continental drift, people remain on the different continents, and the culture and everything that was centered from these Pataites that came up from the Ogdoads, right? Evolving from these beings from the waters, that culture then spread. And you can see it in this diagram that I just showed you, where the first peoples, the sand peoples that were referred to as newborns, they, from the Kalahari Desert, they then went to what you're calling Central Africa, and then they separated in terms of going to the Americas, right? And then you've got those that went to like Ethiopia and Sudan, and then became the Dongolawe, right, which is the tribe where the master teachers originating from. But they split and they went what you call into Egypt, and then you got the ones that went to what you're calling America. But they were the same people. So because the original people in America, those newborns, they became known as the Olmecs, right? the original inhabitants of America were the Olmecs. And they found those big statues with the big heads. You see the features, they have big lips, big nose. They're basically African people. And so they're the same family, but just in two different directions. So people in America who don't want to today say I'm African, they say I'm African American. But if you ask them, what makes you African and what makes you American? Which part of you is African and which part is American? It's because they're saying they're indigenous to the land, which is true. But the DNA comes from the people from Africa. So the America part, that deals with when you had Chinese people coming into America, right, under the Hussein dynasty, and they now mixed with those original Olmecs to produce what people are calling Native Americans. But you look at their features, you will see they've got Chinese features, which became Native Americans. But you look at these Native Americans, a lot of them have the straight fur. And you can see that they've got a dark skin, but they're really from the Denisovan. That's why today, scientifically, the way they break it down is to deal with the DNA, because the DNA tells you exactly who you are and where you're from. So the master taught us this, like the Denisovan and the Homo florensis, that's dealing with all the Asians that then mixed with what we're calling the Homo naledi or the Homo habilis, which is all the Africans. Then you have the Cro-Magnon and the Neanderthal, which is dealing with the Caucasian. But with the Caucasian, you had the Cro-Magnon got wiped out because they did that intentionally by the Basque, which is another race that was put there to wipe out the Cro-Magnon. So today it's very clear who is belonging to one of those three kind of like trees or branches, and everyone is not from one branch because they popped up in different places at different times. This is what anthropologists are facing now. So when they find all the bones, the remains, the skeletons of what they're calling the Homo naledi and the Homo habilis, that's all in Africa. When they look at all the ones they find, like the Denisovan and Homo florensis, that's all in Asia. And then the Neanderthal and the Cro-Magnon, they're all found in Europe. This is how they're able to establish. So the Europeans will try and trace back who they are, where they come from, and they would always go back to, that's why they will find themselves in Europe. And they will say Java man, and just like tie into like the monkeys and so forth, which they were saying human began with being monkeys, but that's really them, because we don't have Neanderthal DNA in our genetics, in our makeup. So in terms of, people can have as many followers as they like out there. It doesn't mean in Joe Rogan and these guys have got millions and millions of followers. It doesn't mean that what they're saying is 100% up to date or accurate. They may promote the master teacher and speak about the master teacher, but are they actually in the community and up to date with the latest information that the master's putting out? And there are things that we get as updates within the community that it's not yet available to the wider public until maybe a book is published, or do you know what I mean? Something comes out where it gets shared. But yeah, we don't really, if everyone comes to us and says there's this guy on the internet and he's saying this and he's saying that, what do you lot think? We will spend time like debunking their stuff as opposed to teaching Wu-Sabat. So you have to ask them to explain what are they saying, where they're getting that information from. Does that help?
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
Just one more. Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. Is everyone assessed and qualified equally for ascension to the fifth dimension and above? Because some races had
no. The answer is no.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, because some races had an advantage, and like the white race, they had an advantage more than.
Where did you get that from? They have an advantage. Where did you get that from? Because we don't teach that. They don't have an advantage. In fact, they are disadvantaged because they're mixed with animals, which stops them from ascending higher. That's how they lost their soul. because they were, like we were just saying, they were mixed with Homo porcine, Homo canine, and simian DNA and genes, and they found that in their DNA, and that's what limits them from ascending. But they wouldn't, if they try to piggyback off of a Nagaru or an Negroid by mixing in. So that's why the master explains about the ethers, because when you're saying ascension, you're really dealing with ascending from the lower ethers to the higher 9 ether. And if you're not Nagaru, even if you're Nagaru but you haven't been activated, or you don't have, or you've mixed in and compromised your DNA, you can't even ascend, or your soul is not turned on or activated. So, you know, the mixing of people trying to piggyback on our DNA is why you're getting a lot of race mixing now, because they have been, by way of their telomeres, designed to fade out after 6,000 years. And that was from the year 2000. So all you're seeing around the world right now is the extinction of the Adamites. And they're doing that through the wars and all the things that they're doing, mixing in, trying to survive. But once you've been judged to be extinct, there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah.
So there's no reverse.
Sorry?
There's no reverse. Sorry.
No, there's no reverse.
Yes.
There's no reverse. Not this time. They had an extension. That was what they were doing in 1966. You know, when the devil was released, and they made a lot of movies, and you know, the Satanic Church was set up. Anton Levi, going back to President Ronald Wilson Reagan, which all ties into, you know, the book, the Leviathan, the beast as the Antichrist. And it's not just one person; it's a system that's it's unfolding right before our eyes, and a lot of that system is falling. That's what it says. Babylon the Great has fallen, and you know, it's going down, and you can see it in the news every day with all the chaos that's going on. But yeah, they can't reverse it. And now the truth is here. So where they hid a lot of things through religions, they knew and they found, like for example, a lot of the Summit, when they did the war in Iraq, they found a lot of tablets, a lot of information that was really exposing these things, and all they did was hid it from the public, or they destroyed it, so the evidence would be lost. But unfortunately, truth is going to pop up everywhere, and you go on YouTube, TikTok, social media now, everyone is telling you about, leave the Africans alone. Like, what have black people done to anybody to have all these things? Even white people are speaking more on it on social media now. Like, you know, we're peaceful people. We've never really gone to colonize other people, create bombs, wars. You know, so there's a race on the planet that's responsible for causing a lot of chaos, and there's another race that is peaceful, creative, and has not done the same thing. So it's becoming very, very clear in terms of who's who on the planet. But yeah, I think someone on Zoom had a question. Clubhouse had a question. Haptui? Oh, Della. Delilah. Oh, sorry. Let's go with Delilah and then Jose.
Rahubat Zaman.
Rahubat Zamaltat.
I'm reading from Why No Help from Above.
Torah.
And I'm under the judgment upon the Adamite section.
Mm-hmm.
Page 10. It's a question and a couple DNA explosions at the same time.
Okay. I don't have it with me, so I'm going to rely on you to, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to start at number 7 on page 10. And it says, and with each step of terraforming that part of the earth called Eridu, home away, far away home, you read. You see each step of the way called days, the Elohim ended by saying, Elohim saw that it was good. Genesis 1:4, the first day. Verse 9, you see the next step, and so on. verse 10 says, you see the next step, the third day, and it also was good. Number 11, you see the next step, 118. The fourth day, it was good. Verse 12, you see the next step, 121 through 25. The fifth day, that it was also good. And 13, the Elohim blessed them all, saying, be fruitful and multiply near redo, home away from home, earth. And Elohim saw that it was good. I'm going to stop there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the DNA explosion was growing up as a Christian. I understand on the first day God created this, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day.
Right.
So I'm going to jump down to verse 15 now. So you see, with each day of 7,000
Mm-hmm.
years, as one day with their Yahweh is equal to 1,000. So the multiple whole number 7 days would be 49,000 years. The sixth day, or 42,000 years.
Right.
So my question, comment, DNA explosion is, for every day that was 1,000 years of something being created, examined, thought of by the Anunnaki, right?
Mm-hmm.
Second day, this created. Third day, this was created, but it was actually 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years, 4,000 years, 5,000 years, 6,000 years. So year 2000, was that the beginning of the 7,000 years where that 7 day rested?
I got you. Okay, let's try and kind of clarify that. So, what it is cycles. Like you said, when you're reading the Bible and it says God did this in one day, and then the next day, and the next day, and it gives you 6 days because He rested on the seventh day, right? This is what we're saying, that they don't have the proper information, and nothing works that like that, where it's just like let there be light, and then there's light, and let there be this, and that, it just happens. So what the master is explaining, that if you read Second Peter's, yes please, Second Peter's, or where he says 1 day is like 1,000 years to the Lord, right? So what you're saying is, when you're saying a day, you have to really make that 1,000. So when you say 7 days, it will be 7,000. But that's just one cycle. So if you then multiply 7 times 7, you're going to get 49,000. So where they're saying 6 days, it'll be 42,000, right? And then the seventh day would be 49,000. Now that's separate from what we're talking about in terms of the 24,000 year cycle, because everything is in cycles. Like if you think about it, even though nothing is changing, you're saying 60 seconds is making 1 minute, 60 minutes is making 1 hour, and then you keep going and going and going, and that builds up. So when you get to a year, you're saying 365 days, but if you keep going to the thousands, you're going to say 24,000 is the end of that cycle, because we've jumped from seconds. Even if we took that 24,000 and we break that down normally into 6,000 years each, yeah? I'm saying like the moon cycle, sun cycle, moon cycle, sun cycle, it gives you the 6,000, right? And that each 6 times 4 then gives you the 24. But if you were to take one of those quarters of 6,000 and break it, I'm actually drawing it, but I can't show you. So think of a circle, draw a circle, and then put a cross in the middle of the circle. So you have 4 quarters. Each one of those quarters is 6,000. And if you took one of those quarters and broke it down into 3, you get 2,000 years each for that 1 quarter. You follow?
Right.
So where we've just gone a circle from 6,000, 6,000, 6,000, and the last 6,000 that's broken up into those 3, the last 2,000 years, yeah, brought us to the year 2000 AD, Right.
Yes.
So now we're going to start a new cycle of 24,000 again. You follow?
Yes.
So then that becomes the seventh day, because the sixth is a new beginning of one again. So
Yes.
so you could say, because remember I've given you 24,000, but that last 6,000 is 6 days.
Understand.
You're following me, yeah? So because we're saying
Okay.
one day 6,000 years. I mean, sorry, yeah, one day 6,000. I'm sorry, one day is 1,000. That's what I'm trying to get.
1 day,
Yeah,
1,000.
one day is 1,000. So the last 6,000 of that moon cycle is,
Yes.
it ended in the year 2000 with that last 1,000 years, and then we're starting day one again, but it will be 7 if you're carrying on from the 6. Am I making sense? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So that's
Yes.
that's what that's what it is. That's what the master is
Okay.
saying. Yeah.
And also, I just want to. I was when you were speaking earlier, you were discussing the no meat, the no meat and not eating meat, and understanding why not to eat meat. Well, also, that is what caused the curse to on the Anunnaki when they decided to eat flesh. So
That's right. That's right.
so
And
it makes all the sense.
also, like, I don't know if you remember when there was something called mad cow's disease.
Yes,
So
I do
so
remember that.
so there's all these things that come and then they just go quiet. Like you think, well, what's happened then?
Yes,
Then you had
absolutely.
the bird flu. I don't know if you remember the bird flu. Yeah,
Yes,
and then there was a pandemic of, like, let's say AIDS, and then all of a sudden no one talks about AIDS anymore. So these things are still happening and still going on, but they're just not being spoken about. The master said when people suffer from dementia and all of these things when they get older, it's because of eating red meat and eating meats that are not properly cooked. You see, so there are things that correlate or that tie into all these ailments and things that people have, but they don't realize because sometimes it's not straight away. So when you look at what people suffer from, diabetes, look at what people suffer from, like high blood pressure, all of these things, a lot of them relate back to eating flesh. And as you said, the Anunnaki, the gods of the Bible, they want people to eat flesh because that's what they like, that they're seasoning you to be food for the gods, because it keeps you on a low vibration, it stops you ascending, and the blood as well messes with your DNA. It's also a vibration. Like we keep trying to stress to people that you are a vibration. You're constantly oscillating and moving. Your molecules, your atoms are moving, and when people are speaking or sound or this is what they want you to do, you're an electromagnetic semiconductor. So, someone can affect you with just sonic sound frequency from wherever you are. The music, all these things have a vibration, and that's why sometimes the trauma that the animal had when it was being unalived, it passes down to you when you eat it, and sometimes you'll have a nightmare, and it's because you're getting that nightmare from the animal because of what trauma they went through. So it's not just don't eat meat. There's a lot of scientific reasons behind it. And I know people say they like it, but you actually don't. You're not designed to eat it. And how you manage to eat it is because something called seasoning was created. And you put the seasoning in it just so you can eat it. Because you know you won't eat it if there's no seasoning in it. And when you start to break down what is seasoning, is literally salt and sugar and spices. So a real meat eater, like if you look in the wild, in the jungle, tigers would just chase an antelope down and rip it and start eating it. That's how you eat meat if you're a real meat eater. We can go on and on scientifically. You didn't have canines, the teeth that you have now, which came by way of that, eating meat over long periods of time. And the digestive system is not designed to digest meat and process it. It takes so long to go through the process, and when you think about the saying, when they say in religion that your body is a temple, right? But you look at the religion, they used to what? Sacrifice and have offerings at the temple, blood sacrifices. So what you're doing is you've got a fire in the center of your temple, which is the altar. And what you're doing when you eat meat is burning that meat on the altar to sacrifice to your being. And what happens is that the blood, your blood, has acid, and the acid in the blood is what burns that meat, and then you're literally then giving off that smell, giving off that vibration once you're eating meat and burning it in your altar to keep you, you know what I mean, down at this vibration and frequency. And for those who have ever become a vegan, and it's also about other aspects of you, but you find that you start to astral project a lot more. You start to come out of you can actually separate your body because the frequency and you're lighter. And yes, and the thing is, these are things we used to be able to do, and now we're fearful of doing these things because we've lost, that control. But yeah, what you've said, Delilah, actually is right on point. Did you have anything else, or is that
Well,
it?
I just want to reiterate what you were saying. On page 15 of the same scroll,
Tour.
it says, for this they now have to deal with their end by way of 24 viruses to date. There are many out of control, such as HIV, SARS, Ebola, Neba, influenza, MERS, bird flu, herpes, West Nile virus, number 10, one I can't pronounce, CHUKUGUNYA, number 11.
Sorry, spell that one again.
CHUKUGUNYA.
Okay, Chukuk or something. Okay.
Number 11 is D68 intervirus. Number 12, mad cow disease.
Okay, I
Ovarian.
mentioned some of those. Yeah.
And 13, the bubonic plague. But yes, just to reiterate, this is also from
Yeah.
the Judgment upon the Adamite section. Thank
Yeah,
you for
that's
your
a
time.
thank you, Tawutat. Yeah, they've been judged already, and a lot of people, that they used to try and save polar bears when it was time for them to go. And when you do that, the balance of the planet changes because the elders know what they're doing, and they always try to preserve and try and keep things that are no longer required because everything has a correlation to everything else. So if you're not supposed to be breathing anymore and putting out that poison or whatever you give off, then you got to go. But people will try and, Caucasians, Amorites, Adamites, they will try and prolong a life of something that's no longer required to be here. So they will mix a tiger with a lion or a lion with a tiger and call it what? A liger. And it's still not going to survive for very long because it's not natural, it's unnatural. And that's what they're doing with the foods now, with the GMOs. And so when you start to look at the mentality of these beings, they're really creating a lot of chaos and destruction on the planet.
So can I ask, is it 3 months that the meat stays in your system, that it doesn't digest?
It can stay in you forever, meaning that there are things that they put in the meat, yeah. A lot of the meat is ingested with pesticides and all kinds of stuff to or the, let's say for example, the grass that these animals eat, they put a lot of things in them, and then you eat that, and a lot of people get the metals, ions that go into their body. And where do they come from? Sometimes people use microwaves when they're cooking these foods or heating it up. So, I mean, they ingest blood into meat to make it look fresh. You just have to go. I think the sister Monique was saying, and I saw it too, if you wake up very early, like around, say, 5, 6 o'clock, and you pass any butchers and see the way they handle meat and treat meat, like they have them on the floor, they carry them on their shoulder, they throw them into and it's not clean at all. It's really not a nice sight. And if you watch, wow, is that the time? Sorry, this is my alarm for the chant. It always comes on a few minutes before 9. Yeah, if you see what they do, there's a movie that when what really pushed me to going back to being vegan, there's a movie called, not a movie, a documentary called, what's it called? It's on Netflix and online. The Game Changers. If you haven't seen that, I would recommend that. That would help you to stop if you're trying to stop. The Game Changers. In fact, let me see if I can find it and I'll show you. Yeah. So I hope that's given someone tour. Yeah, we had Jose waiting, and then after him, you Yomi.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Jose.
Rabubat Musa once again.
Rahubat.
Second, my question is regarding the Nuwapian men meeting. Since we are not around Croydon, how can we effectively participate? Because I ended up losing track of the meetings. How can we participate remotely?
To be honest, you have a calendar, right? You just put in your calendar, set a reminder. It's only once a month, and it's at the last Sunday of every month. So, but we don't.
I'm aware of the date. I meant participate online because we don't have access to it.
Yeah, at this stage, we're not. We're at the moment not given any online access at the moment because we're speaking about very sensitive things and we don't really know where it's going to end up. But for some brothers, we will make it available in terms of them. But look what happened with the Zoom today as well. So, we just got to start thinking about other ways of maybe giving you guys access if you're really far away. But look out. We have a lot of things to accomplish in a short period of time, and we're going to be doing that by way of getting together, the men, the women, and us coming together collectively, because the exodus is going to be real. It's kind of funny because there's a love-hate relationship that they have with us. They blame us, or you hear a lot of blame of we're taking jobs, we're doing this, we're doing that, when in actuality, without the input of immigrants and black and dark skinned people, the country ain't even going to be able to function. Because you look at all the frontline things like the transportation, the hospitals, the schools, and all the work that they don't want to do. There's a video that I saw of a sister that, let me see if I can play. It's quite a short video, but it was so on point in terms of kind of just explaining what's going on in America, and I'm just trying to pull up the video as I'm speaking at the same time, so multitasking. But yeah, in America, she was able to really put it in a way that just made so much sense. I don't know if I can do it at the same time as being on Clubhouse. But basically, she was saying that the system was designed to hold us back and give them privileges and the entitlement and so on. And it's like, because of that, they didn't progress because they didn't have to become creative or do anything because they just got it handed to them. Whereas they stopped us, so we had to think of ways of being creative and surviving, and so we've developed skills, and then we become successful, and then they look at you and say, you're taking our stuff. But you didn't do anything because you were privileged and you had it all handed to you. So then now, instead of you know, they wanna destroy it and wanna make you the problem. But it's like no matter how you subjugate and suppress people, you just make them more stronger to rise to the occasion, to find creative ways of surviving. And so when we do that, like now the big thing is they're building communities, white only communities. And they're saying, oh, we don't have a problem with black people getting together, building their own communities. But whenever we do that, like, they come and destroy it because it's like they don't want you to thrive. So it's a catch-22 where now the truth is just coming out. Like you got this racism, this hate, this, do you know what I mean? It's just like you're just angry for no reason because like, why are you angry? Even when you know, there was the shooting with the guy that, oh, I mean, there's just so much fake stuff anyway going on where people don't realize that the wool's being pulled over your eyes, where the Charlie Kirk thing, where apparently it was a Caucasian that assassinated him, but then they made it about black people and closing the universities and all this kind of stuff. So it's like we're peaceful, they don't like it. We don't do anything, they don't like it. So it's like either way, you literally can't win. So we just have to, yeah, it's the nature, it's the sixth ether nature that and it's part of the DNA by way of the mixing with these animals that makes them very aggressive, very competitive, very like just. But unfortunately, you know, nature will take its course, and just do what it has to do. And it's becoming like Africa's the next frontier. Everybody wants to go to Africa because of what Ibrahim Traore is doing. The resources are there. We just have to realize that we're all we got, and we just have to come together. And Partner Babyanun is the guide that will, you know, get us home. And it's very serious. So we have to start putting our collective resources together, our skills. Yeah, and if you are serious and you want to do that, go to any of the stores, join any of our communities and get involved, be a part of the, yeah, it's going to happen whether you like it or not. It's better to be prepared and work together to make it happen. Any other questions about anything? Oh, so I see a comment. Let me just have a quick look at that. Bastat. Okay. Yeah, we're not streaming from Zoom.
I have a question.
As we keep. Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot about you, Yomi. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering what the master teacher says about, because we've been speaking about diet, so I was wondering if he had any input on breatharianism.
Yeah, breatharianism is quite extreme. We keep things. Can you not see? Oh, you can't see. We keep things balanced, so we don't go to the extremes. A breatharian is someone that is, I mean, it's very advanced to be able to just subsist or live off of breath alone, and it's really that the nutrients are being pulled from the air that you're breathing.
I was just wondering if it was actually a real thing. According to
Yeah, I mean, there are people on YouTube, but, you know, once you've developed to a point where you recognize that you're an energetic or energy being, you can get energy from the sun and from nature. So you don't necessarily have to go through the ingestion and digestion of food, because if you can get the same energy, nutrients from natural nature, but obviously it's a very advanced way of, it's like, you know, some of these extraterrestrials, they don't have stomachs. Like some of the grey species, they don't have food. So the way they feed is through the energy that we generate for them, right? So if you have to think about it like this, like you're an energetic being or an ethereal or a being that can survive through just the energy. Because when you think about when you're eating food, what happens to the food? It breaks down, right? You have to chew it, it breaks down into liquid. That's the whole digestive process. And then that is the the chemicals are then released into your body to give you the vitality. So like when you're eating an apple, if you think about the apple itself has to break down. It's not the apple, is the nutrition within the apple that you need. So you break it down to liquid because liquid is easier to go through your system. But that same liquid, if you think about it, if you were to turn it into, let's say, steam, because you get from solid ice to liquid to gas. If you can still feed off of the gas part of it, then, you know, but it's quite advanced. And you still have to take in, you know, the liquids. Like I'm sure they drink water a lot. And I've seen that there's a couple that have been on YouTube that have been practicing this, and they live out in nature. But yeah, if you think about you as a battery, electromagnetic, I said it earlier on, you're an electromagnetic semiconductor. So when I was saying about these greys, what they do is they lie down in these vats and absorb the nutrients, and that's how they feed and that's how they survive. Then you have those extremes that this is what the chaos on the planet's about. They create a lot of chaos to feed off of the negative energy. And some of these beings they use your vessel and they walk into you. So when you're angry, when you're they get you to be agitated, to be in that mood, so that you then give off that energy that they feed off of. That's why, you know, with Wu-Sabat, you got to be balanced at all times and try to remember to stay positive on that vibration, because these beings, they travel through the waves. So the music that you listen to, that's waves. And they write, I think in the Where's the Devil Today, or Are There Black Devils, like the master goes into detail about how they ride these waves. Even the music you listen to, like hip hop music, a lot of that music uses the 808 drum beat. I don't know, some of you that are musicians will know what I'm talking about. But if you look at the 808, the 8 is really, you know, looks like an infinity sign. But if you look at it, it's really a circle. They've used it in the metaverse logo now as well. But it's the circle because it's a cycle, but there's a vibration and a frequency. So when you listen to hip hop and you hear that bass, that bass drum, the 808, it's vibrating at a frequency that resonates with your chakra, the lowest one, which is dealing with the, you know, the desires and the lust. And so that together with when you're in a club or whatever and you're drinking or taking alcohol and maybe drugs, it literally just gets your whole vibration to think and behave in a certain way. And that's where the lust comes in, and then people get, you know what I mean, into a situation where they end up sleeping together, exchanging fluids, and then it just goes on and on and on. They may have a child. Now they've brought a child into the world that wasn't really planned for, and so on and so forth. So vibrations and frequencies are very, very important in our culture to learn our tones. And go.
Can I ask 2 more quick questions, please?
Tour.
Yes. So, off of what he just said as well, music as well. I don't know if your advice, maybe, like, because I find it hard to listen to, you know, positive music all the time. You know, we're part agreeable and disagreeable. Wouldn't you say, like, sometimes you feel like you want to feed the other side of your nature? If you listen to country music all the time, sometimes it becomes boring.
Yeah, of course. That's why we say balance, but it depends on what you're calling negative music. Because, for example, I use motivational music when I'm jogging or I'm doing something that I need to be like, you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Like that will help you. Like you might be in the gym and you're just like, so yeah, although you might look at that as negative compared to what I normally listen to, which is more smooth jazz and, you know, in fact.
When you say motivational, for example.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Like, you know, motivation, like the ones that you got motivational speakers, they're talking but there's music in the background. Like, okay, I'll give you a good example. Remember the Rocky movie?
Yeah.
When he's running and training to prepare for the fight and he's running there's that type of music, or like Eye of the Tiger, you know, that type of, Yeah, but I'm just saying there is music that is not purely, you know, on a positive vibe like that, like the kind of mellow stuff we listen to. But yeah, it's about balance at the end of the day. I like some rap, but not mainly for the music, but for some of the lyrics, because sometimes someone is just so hyped, like in terms of the way they're expressing what they're trying to say. And yeah, but everyone kind of like has to balance out what's agreeable and disagreeable to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the master says that we should listen to music that we listened to in our childhood because it keeps you young as well. Or listen to a lot of like when you're reading the Pataraks or reading certain information, you listen to certain music. It helps you with your cells to remember that what you're reading, you absorb it more. Even reggae music is good, like drum and bass, but obviously not the slackness stuff. Do you know what I mean? So drum and bass is out, like we're naturally drum and bass people. I don't mean the drum and bass genre. I'm saying the actual drum and bass, like raga, yeah. So, I mean, raga, reggae. So yeah, it all depends. I mean, a lot of the stuff like from the 70s, 80s, where they were using natural instruments, as opposed to all the electronic stuff now. So you got to balance everything out.
Yeah, okay, that's the thing. Lastly, you see the men's meet at end of the month. Can any men come to that, or is it exclusive? Or?
Of course, any man that wants to do and work towards what we're achieving, yeah, that's what we call it a Nuwapian man, because the men have to get together to build and do certain things. And if you want to be a part of that, yes, absolutely, you can come.
Is that in the shirt?
Yes,
What time is that on the end of the month? Is it 31st?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. on the 31st this month?
I didn't say 31st. I said the last Sunday of the month, which this month will be the 26th.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anyone else?
Can I ask a question?
Please, yeah, use the mic. We're coming to the last sort of 15 minutes.
Yeah. When
Do you know what? That energy from that hacking thing is still, it's still bothering me. But go ahead, sis.
yeah. The other beings, what do they do with the when they feed off us? Right.
Okay, when you said the other beings, yeah, go on, finish your
Because
question.
you said the beings, they
Yeah.
feed off our negative energy.
Yeah.
Right. So what do they do with that negative energy?
It keeps them alive. So, like, for example, there's a group of beings known as the Natas, right? That's spelled Natas. If you spell it the other way around, what do you get?
Tassa. TAS.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah, I know, yeah.
you
Okay.
get Satan.
Yes,
Right.
Satan.
So
yeah.
you have certain beings. This is why the master put out the books like the Luciferian conspiracy, because, and the Holy Tablets goes into this. There are certain beings that are vibrating on a particular realm and vibration, and they need to feed. It's like think of a good
I
example.
suppose it's like Dracula, isn't it? That need the
Yeah,
blood to...
yeah, exactly. That's a good example.
To keep
Like,
them alive.
Dracula
right.
needs that blood to keep alive, so he continuously, and it's not even, it's like once he bites one person, he infects them, and then they go around biting other people. So they're creating and generating more of that type of
Right,
energy.
okay.
So, for
It
example,
multiplies.
yeah. So if you, the way we get rid of them, because remember, this is playing within our personalities, your agreeable and disagreeable ancestors that are working through you. So, for example, one of your ancestors might like to drink alcohol, or they used to be a drunkard, or like they used to drink, and now they haven't ascended and they're trapped within a particular realm, but they still need you to feed that desire. So this is why you burn out these desires. If you keep doing it, or they will influence you by way of your voices, anytime you're in a situation where, let's say, you drink, then you give up drinking. You say, I'm not drinking anymore. But then you're around that, they'll put certain situations in your way, like certain friends or someone will just take you out or something where they're going to have the opportunity to constantly get at you and you give in. Your will break. You'll be like, and then because you're around certain people. Now, when you're drinking, you're feeding them. But if you didn't act on that and you basically just ignore that thought and don't go with those people to those places, then you're not going to be able to feed that being. After a while, you're pushing them lower and lower and down to the point where they don't have an effect on your life anymore because you're not feeding that force. There's a actual fact called feeding the forces because it is a force. It's like we have to start looking at things like you're feeding a force. The thought comes and then you follow that through with the actions. But then that has an effect on the vibration on other things, you see. So you silence those voices that are constantly trying to influence you to do the disagreeable thing. It's like if you don't smoke, you don't want to go into a room that's full of smoke. So eventually they will leave and they won't bother you. But you have to maintain that and then they won't be able to have an effect on your life.
See, I can understand the reasons why we shouldn't eat meat. So I can fully understand that. Alcohol, I don't understand why
It's
we
an intoxicant.
can't have.
It's an intoxicant.
But it helps to relax you, like wine.
So
red
does
wine.
crack. Help. Well, I'm just saying, like, it's like people that say, yeah, because we have to be real with it, like, because again, kind of trying to reset in the room to what the class was about, that you got to do more than talk. Like, you can talk and say, but it relaxes me. People that smoke, they will make all kinds of excuses and say, you know, but it relaxes, it takes away the stress. But the thing is, you don't see the long-term effects. And that will only happen later on when your nervous system breaks down. Remember, your nervous system is what you utilize to affect the rest of your being. Because you're picking up these waves, these vibrations through your nervous system. And your organ, your skin is the biggest organ. So it all has an effect. So when you say drinking alcohol, yeah, because that might even be one of your ancestors that just said that, because they want you to keep drinking. The master has said a glass of wine with dinner, or do you know what I mean, in a respectable way, in a particular, it's fine. But most people don't just have a glass, because once you have a glass, you wake up one of those ancestors that wants more. And then one glass becomes two, yeah, I'll have another one. And before you know it, you're now addicted to it.
Addicted.
And then you go from, well, I'll just have one bottle a day. And then it becomes 2 bottles. And before you know, you lose control. So it's best not to. And I'm not saying that you can stop everything overnight, but it's all about you being in the driving seat of your vessel and your being. And you only need one, because many alcoholics will tell you they could give up for years and years and years. But you see, the minute they get that one, it just starts all over.
But that's their weak will, isn't it?
Yeah, but you say that, but I just said they may have been sober, not drinking for 20 years, and they have one drink. That's why it's best to not do it. You see people all the time when they are in movies, they'll just have water or pretend to have a drink when they're around people that are drinking, but it's just water they're drinking. That's one of the ways to handle it, because you never know when you wake up one of those ancestors again. It's not just drink. It could be smoking, it could be sex, it could be anger, the 9 mental diseases, ego, gluttony, jealousy. All of these things are part of those 9 mental diseases, and you can just trigger. And if you're getting triggered to bring that in you, then that is showing you that's something you need to work on. You see, so Tua.
Yeah, I have one more quick question, please.
Go ahead.
Yes. So, with regards to, like, you just mentioned the 9 mental diseases, and, like, my question is, I've heard the master teacher say that
we need to burn out our desires. So my question is that if it's a negative desire, how is that one will go about burning out? I mean, are you supposed to indulge that until you find it tiresome, or what would you do? What does burnout mean? Burn out your desires in that sense.
It means that you have to find a why or the reason to stop. And so, for example, a lot of things are based on self-indulgence and selfishness. Like when you're doing something, you're not necessarily thinking of how that is affecting other people around you, your family, maybe your children or whoever. So you have to think, is it better for me to be around to look after my children, for example, than to unalive myself doing something for my pleasure? So if you don't, you're going to just keep coming back and reliving. It's like a torment. It's like when people talk about hell, that's a hell because that thing, that vice, whatever that is in control of you and you're not in control of it. So you have to think of a way to override it so that you're in the driving seat, because if you don't, what happens is when you cross over, you're still stuck here because that attachment to that desire, that's what when we say burn it out, you go through certain scenarios where you'll be sick of it. Like, so literally you'll be sick of it to the point where it's like, I'm trying to think of an example. Like you literally be in this is what they call perdition, or like you're in hell because you remain until you burn that out. So let's say, I'm trying to give examples that are not, okay, there are no children on here, but like, like let's say for example you lust a lot. You'll be put in a situation where all you do all day is have things to make you lust to the point. It's like, okay, let me give you, food is a good one. Let's say you like eating cake and you can't stop eating cake. Well, you'll be put in a situation where you eat cake so much to the point where you just the look of cake is going to make you sick. You will just think, ugh, I don't even want cake no more because, you know what I mean? You've just indulged in it so much to the point where, yeah, even like people that smoke cigarette. I remember I used to work with someone that was a chain smoker, and we had to work together, and it was like just the smell that they had from they didn't realize it, but it would make me literally vomit, sick. And I used to tell them all the time. And then what happened is, unfortunately for them, they had a stroke, and it meant that they had to stop smoking. And when they stopped smoking, I remember them saying to me, now I can't stand the smell of cigarette. I can smell it from miles away on people's clothes. And so it was like the penny dropped for him when I was saying to him that I used to smell it on him. I didn't like it. But now he's so able to, like, you know what I mean, smell the smoke. And now he says, I understand what you were going through. And that we can apply that to any other situation, and it's the same, you know. But yeah, I hope that helps. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we've got like 7 minutes left. If anyone hasn't asked a question yet, I see, is that Circuit? I think if you want to ask a question, I've brought you up on stage. Anyone else? All right, well, I'll go back to the original topic. But it's great because, I mean, I've heard a few people say they're going to move closer, get more involved with the stores, volunteer, come to the Nuapia Man meetings and the system meetings, where we are building, we are coming together and doing things, and we need to hurry up. We do. We really need to realize that if we want the future that we're all saying we want, we definitely have to put our pride aside, put the ego aside. Don't be judgmental in any way, shape or form. Just go and get involved. Bring whatever you have to bring to the table, and let's work together, and let's make sure that we don't let anyone or anything divide us or keep us from building the future. Okay, Circuit, did you want to ask a question or say anything?
Robot,
Rahubat.
thank you for bringing me on. I didn't have a question, but for the statement that you just made, I wanted to just see how I can go about trusting family. Only because I've been in many, over the years, I've been with many family members, some through the bookstore, some through online groups, teaching groups. I'm currently in another one who really has, whose teachings are stemmed from the master teacher, but they're not directing the teachings as if it's based on, the master teacher's teachings. So it's hard for me to trust family because not everyone is on the same page.
Right.
How can I still continue to trust?
The best way is to really apply what you're reading from the books from the master teacher. I hear where you're coming from. Remember that this has been done by design to disperse and have us not trusting one another, not working together, and so on. And unfortunately, we all have been through various situations and experiences, but we have to still override all of that. All you have to do is be as close to the source. We have monthly worldwide conference calls where you hear directly from people that visit the master every week. So you just have to be in the right forums and situations where you get the latest information. And like you say, if someone is talking and teaching about information from the master teacher, but they're not actually saying that, that is a kind of a sign as well, because it's like, why don't you talk about the master teacher? And that's when I first started doing the YouTube videos or came on. I was like, all these people that we know the information is coming from the master teacher, but they're using it for themselves, to capitalize on themselves, to build their own following, to build their own community, but they won't say this is the source of the information. That in itself is quite telling. But yeah, you just have to. You've also got your intuition, your gut feeling, do you know what I mean? Your powers that, and your ancestors as well, that you can consult to guide you. But ultimately, you got to be around those people that are consistent and that are listening and following what the master teacher is saying. But you're not going to know that because what happens is sometimes they'll come across someone and that person has their own ulterior motives or an agenda, but they will use the master teacher as a front. But, you have to get close, get to the forums that's why you hear me saying, come to the Nuwapi Man meetings, come to the sister meetings, join the worldwide conference calls where everyone that is saying they're Sabian or Nuwapian are going to hear the same information, and there's no confusion that way. But people that are on the outside, they will try to have their version or their flavor of what the master teacher is saying. So if you read the books, Patarak yourself, you will know what he's saying, and knowing it is one thing, but then applying it is another thing.
Right. So I appreciate that. I'm actually I came across the Sabians and Wu-Sabat and the teachings through this forum because it's based off of Dr. Malachi York's teachings, Dr. Panabab Yanun's teachings. Like I said, over the years, by being in these groups, and these groups not really having the foundation of Wunuwap, I was stuck in a limbo for so many years in each group, not really progressing because it's not, they're based, like I said, they're basing it off of Wu-Nuwap, but it's not directly from the word.
Right.
So
Right.
it just became very frustrating, and I'm just not realizing it now that this group is the same thing. Just saying
Right.
that we're the teachings are based off of Wu-Nuwap, but
Yeah.
it's not.
You're right.
So,
I mean, what happened as well, once the master teacher was kidnapped, and what a lot of people kind of ran in different directions. And that was partly to see who was going to be real or stick around. It's like when you're at the top, everyone's your friend and everyone's around you and everyone. But the minute you get into a situation where they thought, oh, like, he's not who they thought he was. He's never said he was a religious person. But people were like, oh, he's incarcerated. And they just ran away and it just showed their true colors. So what I'm saying is many different groups, many different splinters all formed. But the thing is, those that didn't give up on him, those that stood around and are still here from back then till now, you see that it's now it's been turning around because he continued to do the work and put out information to the point where they couldn't keep up. And a lot of them can't keep up because they stopped reading the information that he came to give. Remember, he said at the beginning, I come giving you what you want so you will learn to want what I have to give. And a lot of people left before he started to give what he came to give. They got what they wanted. Right. Exactly. And even rejecting it. Yeah.
That's why I stayed away from that for many years, because I'm told that it was an offspring of something else.
Right.
Not from the teacher, but it is from the teachings.
Yeah, and one of the things, sorry to interrupt, because we're running out of time, one of the things they say is that, it's not from him. And, the books, like the actual facts, Master Secrets and Power Tarak, which are what he came to give us, and that only started being given out from the year 2002 when he was incarcerated. He started from the year 2000, but the minute they realized this is what he came to give and how powerful it was, that's when he was kidnapped in 2002. Because everything else before that it was working because he was actually sprinkling it in those books. But he was like, the year 2000's here, the devil's time's up. That was the other strategy as well. He had to wait until 2000 when their time was up. And they weren't as effective or have the same power over us because now it's our time. So what happened is from 2002, a lot of those people left, and then he started giving us what he came to give. And people said, oh, he's not writing the books, they're not from him. And you asked them, because this is what I had to kind of clear up. I was like, okay, before he was incarcerated, how did you know the books you were reading then were from him? Because you weren't there watching him write them and he published it. You just got the book and you read it. It had an impact on you because it connected with you as a being. And you knew the tone and vibration of his writings. So now you're saying it's not from him, but you can't tell me that the ones you were reading prior to that were from him because you were not there when they were being produced. So I'm like, if you read them for yourself, the tone and the vibration and the frequency is exactly the same as the person that you were accepting before without knowing how the books were being put together. You see, so people will say things but not really think about it until you put them on the spot. And when you read the information, it's like, if you know a person and you know their writing, their tone, like imagine someone you've known for 20 years that you've been close with. They could go to the other side of the planet and ring you on the phone and you would recognize their voice because you know their tone. So when you read the books from the master teacher, you will know whether it's from him because the way he writes is different to anyone else, you see. So we're clearing up all those misconceptions and we need to come back together as family because those people run out. All those groups run out. They run out of information because once he starts talking about the things that are going on right now, they're out of date. They don't know the language. People are still saying the language changes all the time because That's how you know who's current. You know, someone might be telling you or speaking, saying a word that we were using 20 years ago. So you know they're not up to date. But, you know, it's like, if you're up to date, you will know what's going on. So you will be led back to the family eventually if you follow your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. On that note, we've come to the end of class, so I want to thank everyone for for sticking through. And remember, the class is you got to do more than talk. So we want to see you more. We want to see you getting involved with what we're doing all around the world in all our stores and communities, because we're all that we've got. All right. So tawakum, mu'sar, wadu.